Thank you, Priscilla. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Everyone, please gasho. Let's begin with the words of Shinran Shonin. Shakyamuni and Amida are our parents, full of love and compassion for us. When sentient beings think on Amida Buddha, just as a child thinks on its mother, they indeed behold the honored one, Oya-sama, our loving parent, who is never distant. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Good morning. I'm still thinking about last month when I was so fortunate, along with so many here, to attend the International Women's Conference, which was held at the Marriott Hotel here in San Francisco, and which so many of our BWA members and Sangha members worked so hard to make it possible. One of the most memorable moments for me from that conference was the keynote address of Reverend Motoyoshi. She talked about taking care of her 106-year-old mother and some of the joys and challenges that arose from that relationship. Reverend Motoyoshi's comments struck a chord with me because David and I, too, have older parents. David's parents still live in Southern California, still in the house where he grew up. We're now in the process of moving them into a set of flats that we bought, which is on Laguna Street between Bush and Pine, just one block away from the temple. And since my father passed away in 2011, my mother stays with us part-time in San Francisco and part-time in her home in Oregon. Our parents are healthy and they're doing well, but as they are now in their late 80s and early 90s, they're transitioning into a slowing down period in their lives. Because of this, I think about our parents a lot now. I probably think about them more than I think about my young adult children who are in college and starting their independent lives. I think about whether our parents are eating regularly, whether they're taking their medication on time, and especially about wanting to spend more time with them. David and I came to the conclusion that given that we still have our jobs and responsibilities, the only reasonable way to spend meaningful time with our parents and to be part of each other's lives was to create a family compound for all of us to live in. Whenever I talk about this with my acquaintances at work, they seem so surprised, and sometimes I think even a little suspicious of the concept. I think in this culture, families and relationships are viewed in a very binary way. A family is parents with young children, and they remain that way as an intact family while the kids are young, but after they grow up, reach the age of maturity, go to college, the expectation is that the closeness of that parent-child relationship comes to an end. And it's then replaced with a relationship of adult children and older adult parents, which can be a very complicated relationship. Those discussions left me with two thoughts. First, I think that from a Japanese perspective, perhaps we have a longer view of relationships in general, and parent-child relationships are no exception to that. We expect to be in each other's lives for the long haul, and that includes even when one party is no longer living, because death may end life, but it doesn't end our relationships. I still have a close relationship with my father, even though he's been gone for 9 years. When I need guidance on a difficult problem, I think about how he would handle it. When I get frustrated or I have to explain something, I often hear his words and stories coming out of my mouth. And whenever I'm in Oregon with my mother, of course, I always visit and spend time with him. But now I go to the cemetery to visit him instead of the house. And that all feels very normal for me, and it all feels just right. My second thought gets back to that complicated relationship that my acquaintances describe of adult children and older adult parents. My colleague talked about how parents should unconditionally love their children and judged their parents based on that standard. But I think that unconditional love is a very tough standard to meet. Reverend Motoyoshi said in her talk that she had stopped trying to drag her mother into her world and into her reality, and that by doing that, she released so much stress and difficulty from that relationship. That was really a telling moment for me. I think that the concept is so profound because it's not about unconditional love. I think it's really about unconditional acceptance. Unconditional acceptance allows us to appreciate our parents as they are. Don't try to drag your parent into your world. Just let what can be, be. My mother is that person who waters every plant. She provides emotional support to everyone who needs it. She is your personal cheerleader, the person who believes in you, eternally optimistic, the person that gives you just the right little gift to lift your spirits, and always gives you a carefully written card for your birthday, your anniversary, and all the major holidays. And it is because she's been living with us for 9 years now that we have benefited so much from everything she brings to our family. I am now looking forward to this holiday season when my entire family, including my mother and David's parents, will be together again, and our elders will be settled into their respective areas in the compound. I'm sure that there will be a lot of cooking and eating and debating. There will be the eternal battles over the TV clicker and whether to watch Fox News or MSNBC, whether to talk about basketball or impeachment. Our family is no different from yours, as I'm sure we all have our personalities and our moments. Shakyamuni Buddha taught that one of the sufferings that all humans experience are the painful emotions of being separated from loved ones and having to spend time with people who we do not like. For me, the reality of our lives is that life is very fragile, interdependent with others, and undeniably brief. So the challenge for us is to appreciate and accept the time we have and the people we have. For me, that is my takeaway and my aspiration going forward. I do want to thank all of our BCSF, BWA members and Sangha members who made that wonderful women's conference possible and the sharing of such wonderful information that is still reverberating in our lives. Thank you all for your generous time in listening to my reflection today. Let us again gasho for the words of Shinran Shonin. Shakyamuni and Amida are our parents, full of love and compassion for us. When sentient beings think on Amida Buddha, just as a child thinks on its mother, they indeed behold the honored one, Oya-sama, our loving parent, who is never distant. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.